Hey everybody, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Bill.
Have you ever asked yourself, what is your superpower?
Everyone has a superpower. Most people just don't know what it is.
We're going to help you uncover it.
This podcast is all about helping people figure out what their truly unique superpower is.
Superpowers, what's yours?
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Superpowers Podcast. This is going to be a doozy.
The best ever.
The best.
Maybe this is the best
By
ever.
the way,
we'll find out.
One of the things that I recalled as I was, thinking of Ari today was a few years ago, Business Insider said, who are some of the people you have, like tech people you have to follow on Twitter? Mm-hmm. If memory serves me correctly, it was you, then like Jack Dorsey, founder of Twitter, and then like Rupert Murdoch.
I was right above Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah, you go.
You
were.
I was like 23, and I think Business Insider put him as 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were.
I think I was
people have
one
to follow
ahead.
you more than Rupert Murdoch.
I'm sure Rupert had his revenge on the Business Insider editors through one way or another.
Yeah.
Somebody ended up in the river. At the time, Ari, how many followers did you have, and how many? And this is sort of a hot topic obsession for me. And how many do you have today?
Okay, I don't recall, but they did go up quite a bit after that article.
Yeah.
I have about 12,000 Twitter followers nowadays. It's very heavily advertising oriented because that's my expertise. It's been hovering between like 11 and 12 for years, but I think before that article came out, it was probably significantly lower.
Couple hundred.
Maybe a couple thousand.
Okay.
But because I do follow Ari on Twitter.
He's good.
I feel like your engagement percentage is a lot higher, so that some people who have like 50,000, 100,000 followers don't get the level of engagement that you get, is what I'm seeing.
Well, I mean, Twitter is a social medium. It's not just broadcast like a blog, and it's not chat. It's somewhere in between. So talking to people and being kind of positive has a big effect. And so I've made a lot of friends and connections on Twitter for people I may not have had a real professional relationship with.
Yep.
And then you get engagement because you're keeping it interesting.
And you get engagement, Bill, when if you saw sort of his most, at least my opinion, most infamous one a few months ago, where he sort of dissected double click.
Oh.
If you opt out of work for a month and you do that, that's going to get engagement. That's an impressive.
So the story there is, I don't know. I was, for those listening who don't know me, I used to work at DoubleClick and at Google after the acquisition. And reporters call me all the time, and they have pretty simple questions like, what is the difference between AdWords and Adsense?
Yeah.
That is confusing, actually.
Yep.
And DoubleClick has changed the name of its products 20 times. So it was a Sunday night. I might have had a cocktail, and I said, I'm going to just make a diagram. I'm just going to explain it to people. And I spent literally just an hour, made a diagram that explained every single piece of the DoubleClick Google ad stack, how it interrelates, put it on Twitter. But
you put it on Twitter like one, two, it was probably like 20 things.
Well, that's the only way you can do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And it blew up.
It definitely blew up.
I have a funny story about that.
Please.
Google's under a lot of investigation legally.
Really? Us and our users don't know about this.
Yeah, no one knows about the Google legal issues. So I was on a phone call with a government agency, won't say who, with 10 lawyers on the call, and they're introducing themselves. They're all really powerful people in the government, and they're like, Ari, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm happy to help. I don't have a grudge here. I just want to help the government. And they're like, okay, we need to ask you about your tweets.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
Wow.
So
yes.
The government
really?
has been informed about the tweets.
Wow. Yeah. So they must have. There's obviously some undercurrency there that they're concerned about, privacy related, or
it's not different from the example I was giving. It's hard to understand it. If you're a lawyer who's being asked to understand whether DoubleClick's ad stack gives Google advantages in the exchange world of advertising, you have to first do the boxes and arrows and understand what are separate products, how are they sold, what are the business terms, and how do they interrelate. And there aren't that many people who fully understand it outside of Google.
By the way, when I merged with Donovan to form Mediaocean and we went through a DOJ thing, one of the things I was most impressed with, even though it was frustrating to kind of go through that, is how much they prepared. But it was frustrating because if you don't know the industry, they would ask me a question like, "Oh, tell me about a DSP," or and I'll go on and wax poetic, and then all of a sudden they'll go, "Mr. Wise, on June 24th, you said this. It seems to contradict what you're saying now." And like, if you don't know those intricacies, you can
get floored.
You can get it. Yeah. Yeah.
So for our listeners, let's give you a quick promo. What is your Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
It's Ari Pap, ARIPAP.
Okay. So we are not going to always promote our awesome guest Twitter handle, but Ari deserves. So give him a follow, but not until you follow ours, which is at the Superpowers. Hannah, what is it? Superpowers _IO. So first follow us, then follow Ari. So Ari,
I think it's Ari, right?
Either way is fine.
Is it either way? Because for years I go Ari and I watch him, and then I'll say Ari, and I always feel like it's supposed to.
Well, Ari's always getting me. I've been calling him Arnie. And he always gives me this shitty look. Yeah. Ari's funny about greetings, Bill. We were at this event over the summer. You know me well enough, and most people know me, that I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
Not all people are huggers.
Yeah.
There's sort of people, there's like the spectrum of hugging is like me, and then there's, I'm going to get to this, and then there's kind of like I can accept the hug, and then there's like I hugged Ari at this cocktail thing in Soho, and it was sort of one of these, like, the body went limp. It was kind of like, no, he first came at me with this, like, he knew I was coming, so he saw me. He's like, oh, boy, I got to get this over with. So he set up the barrier.
Yeah.
I busted through it. I got in there. He kind of accepted it because he has to like me. But he made it relatively clear. He's like, that's not really my thing, guy.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
Yeah. Well,
if you just wouldn't put your tongue in my ear every time, it would be fine.
But that's how I warm people up.
I see.
All right, we have a lot to cover today. We're not going to dive into Beeswax just yet.
Sure.
Bill and I both know you in and out at a personal level over the years. I think it'd be really fun to hear a little bit about your story and
I actually want to go way back. I want to know a young Ari.
Yeah.
I want to know like where you grew up, like what you were into.
Sure. So I'm from New York City. I grew up in the Upper East Side.
Oh man, that's so boring.
I know.
I was hoping like I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. No, okay, New York City.
New York City in the 70s wasn't boring.
Yep, true story.
Into computers since age 12. So now I just turned 49. So I've been.
What was your first computer?
I've been programming for 37 years. My first computer was an Atari 800.
Yeah, it was.
And I was really good at
Yep.
it.
Yep. 10, go to 20. 20.
Totally. No, but I actually learned assembler on it when I was a teenager.
You would be qualified to work at Mediation then.
Right.
But all right, you grew up in New York City.
Yes.
In the 70s.
Yes.
Can you unsee what you saw?
No. The Upper East Side is known as being very Tony, but 86th Street was like no different from Times Square back then. It was not a very nice neighborhood at all. There were I used to spend time in the Upper West Side, and there were prostitutes on the streets of the Upper West Side. It's like unbelievable nowadays to think about that.
I up in Westchester, a lot of people who are a bit older than us, said, God, if the city was then what it is now, totally would have lived in the city and had my kids grow up in the city, but it wasn't, right? People forget that 20 years ago, the city wasn't like it is today.
There were so few kids in Manhattan.
Yep.
My grade school went out of business because they ran out of students.
Right.
At 6th grade, they just said, you can't come back next year, find somewhere else to go.
So where'd you go to high school?
I went to Stuyvesant High School.
Yep.
The old one on 15th Street.
Yep.
So got a hardcore math and science education there. Was really into it.
Were you doing math when you were young? Back to Bill's earlier question, the young Ari.
Yeah.
Like, was there a point when, like, your parents were like, there's Ari again, he's not eating because he's, like, doing equations? I mean, is there... I ordered the code red. See that smile?
Yeah.
I got him.
Yeah, I mean, I was very good at academics.
Yes.
Right.
When did you?
It wasn't very difficult for me.
When did you know that? When did you?
Yeah, just always.
You just knew.
Yeah, I was a couple grades ahead of math my whole life. It was
Did
an issue.
were you able to use that to your advantage in any sort of capacity? Like,
No.
have you ever counted cards? Or?
That's a funny question. No, I would say what's interesting about my background is that I sort of went the totally different direction in college and in career. So I went to a liberal arts college, went to Georgetown, and I did not.
Well, I would not have guessed that.
No.
Did not pursue computer science.
So you didn't go to MIT. I would have pictured like MIT or.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, but I took a very different direction and did not pursue a technical career or profession until much later. Really.
So what'd you major in college?
Marketing.
You did?
I majored in marketing. Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Yep.
So you got lazier and you just wanted to take
and I did a double major. This is how lazy I was. I did a double major in marketing and fine arts.
Fine arts?
Fine arts, yeah. Painting, drawing, printmaking.
Wow.
Which is a lazy major, but I'm not.
Can
bad
you
at
actually
it.
draw something now?
Yeah,
you're pretty good.
I'm pretty good.
Nice.
Well, cannabis is known to make people slow down a little bit. So. So yeah, I'm surprised you didn't do the MIT run.
Did not.
You kind of Did you enjoy school? What were you like in?
No, I'm always very anxious in school. It takes too long. I graduated college like 3 and a bit instead of 4 because first of all I was paying for it, so I needed to get through it faster.
You know what? When you're paying for it, it matters.
Yeah, when you're paying for it, that
Yeah.
extra semester that costs $15,000 doesn't seem worth it.
Right.
By the way, I went to New York State University simply because it was the cheapest school I got into.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're paying for it, that matters.
Right. Which one? Purchase?
No, SUNY Albany.
Albany.
Ah.
I was just guessing.
Yeah.
SUNY, right down the road.
SUNY.
I love that place.
I say all the time because people who report to me are like MIT, Stanford. I was like, hey, ROI on my education seems like it's a little bit better.
I like that.
My school literally was $2,200 a semester.
Right. Yeah.
Ari, did you? I mean, again, I gotta find this nugget here because it's there. New York, your math. You had to have a side hustle. You had to have something. I want to know. We have some people outside this door. We have maybe some special guests that will unearth or call BS. What was the? Did you have anything going on the side? Like any little fake IDs or anything?
No, I really didn't.
Okay.
I was like really straight up.
All right.
I worked very hard. I had a lot of jobs, but they were all really boring jobs. I worked in a plumbing warehouse, picking out pipes for big jobs.
That sounds awful.
It was really bad. It was really bad. It was like
I thought he was going to be like, hey, I learned a lot
He was gonna
about
push back on
supply
me?
chain management. No, it was bad.
No, it was bad. My summer job, I'd come home like covered in rust and dirt and oil, and my
Well-
mom would be like, "Could you get a real job or something?"
Was that your worst job ever?
I did telemarketing one summer. That was me. Yes.
On talking to people.
Not just talking to them, selling them things.
Yeah.
It was telemarketing to doctors. So 99% of the
that's
job
so
was
good.
getting through the front desk. That was if you got through the front desk, you were fine.
You're gonna big close ratio if you
yeah.
get through.
Did you outside of the training they gave you? Did you have some initial hacks that you were able to navigate and get through?
No,
Or-
but I mean it's the classic thing where the girl with the British accent did so much better than everybody else, right? It's the voice matters so much.
Voice matters.
Let's be clear, I was not good at this job.
believe me, it works well. I married one with a British accent, so it sells. It sells.
So what's your first job out of Georgetown?
Okay, so startup. So I was into startups right away, but before the internet, so it was 1992. It was a company that collected state filings about franchise companies. So McDonald's, Burger King, et cetera, are regulated by a nexus of federal and state laws. The state laws have public filings. And so these filings have an enormous amount of data in them about the number of franchises, failure rates, profit rates, all that sort of thing, but they're very hard to find. So this fellow I met had this idea, let's create like the Lexisnexis of franchising. So it was my job to go to the state capitals with big Xerox machines and copy, 10, 20,000 documents a day, bring them back to the headquarters, analyze them, categorize them, digitize them, and then resell them.
Wow.
Yeah. It was.
And by the way, that would have been really efficient if the internet existed.
The internet would have helped that job. So that was that. I did that for a couple of years, and that was really interesting. And
what does that do to one's soul? I guess that's like that motivates you to be optimistic that there's other things out there. I mean,
there's like
wow.
Grandmas used to say there's a pot for every there's a lid for every pot. Sorry,
sure.
I got it backwards. It's kind of like that with entrepreneurs. There's always a new idea somewhere.
Where did you? Sometimes Bill and I breeze through careers. I want to know every between the pipe SSP. Like I want to hear about everything.
The next one's even better.
What's the next one?
Okay, so I was in Washington D.C. doing this job. I stayed for a couple of years after college. So then I wanted to move back to New York. So I worked at this company that maybe you're old enough to have heard of. It was called Find SVP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Find SVP.
Right.
Yeah.
So Find SVP, probably none of the listeners have heard of it. Yeah. It was a company, this is not going to make any sense for the internet generation, so you just have to trust me.
Yeah.
It was a company that allowed a business person to call up an 800 number and get directed to a human being like me and ask factual questions.
Wow.
Like, hey, what's the address of McDonald's headquarters? And I would find it out and tell them. And they paid for that. It was telephone internet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was me, and I was one of, let's call it 150 experts. We're in Chelsea, where eBay is right now, opposite the.
Now, were the
Bed Bath &
experts
Beyond.
like verticalized?
Yeah. So I was franchising restaurants.
Oh, there you go.
So
you
I
parlayed.
see.
You
I see.
parlayed.
So I would sit there for 8 hours.
All in.
And some of the questions would be really easy, like what's the address of McDonald's headquarters? Some of them would be like, do we think that the future of cantaloupe farming in Argentina is positive or negative? And you had to find that.
How incredible! This is life before the internet.
Life
By the
before the
way,
internet.
so recently I was with someone in their 20s. And so a reference came up, and I was like, "Oh, that's like movie phone." And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Oh, I forgot you're in your 20s." Okay, so let me tell you, before the internet and before iPhones, you would actually call 1-800 like something film, and it would go, "Hello and welcome to Movie Phone." Do you know the name of the movie you want to watch, or do you know the theater?
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and then you would find out listings to movies by calling a 1-800 number, which I
Push
think they
3 for Indiana Jones.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
The classic Seinfeld episode.
The Seinfeld episode. Why don't you just tell me the name of it? Yeah.
For those listening, Google it. The Seinfeld movie phone episode. It's worth watching.
It's worth
But
watching.
the only, I guess, the
By the
downside.
way, every story I feel can be related to a
Connected
Seinfeld
to.
episode.
Yeah.
You could, you could just give a random answer though, couldn't you?
Well, you wouldn't want to disappoint your clients, right?
Right, they are your clients.
They could rate you, and you'd get it was a subscription service, so people would pay thousands of dollars a month.
Okay.
For the service.
So it's about okay. So all right, right now your career's going up to the right. You got this franchise sort of domain expertise.
He is now the franchise vertical expertise.
You're in a midlife crisis ish because you thought young Ari was going to be in math, but yet you're turned into a sales guy. So what happens next?
So this is where I had a good side hustle. So I went to business school.
You got to keep pushing Bill, and then you order the code red.
Yeah. So I went to Columbia Business School, and I went full time, and I wasn't very wealthy at all, so I needed money. So I came up with this awesome side hustle, which was using franchise expertise.
Oh my God, it's the gift that keeps giving.
So there was this theory in the financial world that if you loaned money to a franchise, it was lower risk than loaning money to an ordinary mom and pop restaurant, let's say.
Yep.
And so Deutsche Bank was really heavily involved in this at the time, and what they were doing was trying to securitize loans. So they'd have a securitized debt instrument of like 100 Burger Kings.
Interesting.
But to prove that it was lower risk, they needed an outside opinion. So
They paid you?
They paid me a lot. And what I did in my spare time was I wrote these memos for Deutsche Bank telling them like factual information about the number of McDonald's or Burger Kings, how their failure rates, blah, 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 blah. 5-page memos, like a couple grand each. And I just pumped them out like at a furious pace at business school, and it was a really good side hustle.
Wow. So that basically paid for like you to live through business school.
More or less, yeah.
I mean, and it's a clean way compared to how most people have done.
Sure, securitized debt, nothing wrong with
Bill,
that.
Ari, as I'm listening to you talk, and a lot of this, I'll just admit, is over here. What was the actual year that being a nerd was awesome? Like, what was that moment when you were like, it's on me now? Like I mean, because I'm listening to you, and I mean it in a complimentary way. You're a smart guy. And it seems to have worked.
I think what you're calling him is a nerd.
I think that's what I heard too.
Yeah.
I did. And nerds are cool. Yeah. So I
well, nerds weren't always cool.
That's
but
my
nerds
point.
became cool.
It was
there an inflection point on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Mid-90s.
Okay.
Mid-90s.
That's what I want to know.
It went from totally uncool to Bill Gates, people scratching their head like he's a nerd, but he's also the richest person alive.
Right.
Yeah.
Just think about that. And then
that's so
and
good.
then Netscape and like right
more
around
nerds, more wealthy people.
1994, 1995, we went full nerd, and then you could really trace it back to the sitcom The Big Bang Theory, because like that was the end of the beginning of nerdness, because mainstream CBS, the most conservative network, put out a show totally about nerds. So that's when you're 100% in nerds are cool land,
100%.
which I think was like, I would guess 98, 99.
Do nerds go out and all celebrate that night and like drink, kind of like LGBT?
Was there a secret email that went out to everybody?
No, first of all, I'm not.
Come out, you can come outside tonight.
No, that was a sellout moment. I mean, like that was like, come on, man.
I suffered for decades.
Yeah, you're making,
now future nerds are just being cool.
You have like people pretending to be nerds. So
you
have like
true
people
story.
who are not nerds.
Nerd pretenders.
Like, I have a webpage, and try to pick up girls on that, and like it's just not cool.
All right, so Columbia Business School, what do you do? What's your first job out of there?
Another startup.
So you weren't a sellout. You didn't go to a bank, financial services.
Yeah, they wouldn't have me. Personality issues. Yeah. But yeah, I did a startup. It was called Blink.com. It was online bookmarks. So if, once again, put yourself back in the beginning of the internet. You have a browser that's terrible, like Netscape 4.7, and maybe IE, you use it at work, and there's no search engines, right? So it's really hard to find sites.
Well, by the way, the best sites were directories back then.
Exactly, right? So, and Hotmail had just gotten sold for $500 million or whatever to Microsoft.
Great deal.
And so people were saying, oh, wow, we could put functionality into a web page and people will use it like a utility. So we had this idea that you should not have bookmarks on your browser. You should have bookmarks in the cloud. We didn't call it that at the time. And so the service would let you upload your bookmarks from your browser, organize them, color code them, share them with people, publish them on your blog, do all kinds of, like every bell and whistle in the world. We raised $13 million. Me and a bunch of fellows, mostly folks from the finance industry. And
can I ask you a question? At that time, what did venture even look like? Like, who'd raised from who?
There were legit venture.
Well, no. A lot back then. It was a lot of venture capital that saw that retail wasn't getting the ROI that used to, and started a little bit into tech, but there weren't tech VCs really.
Well, on the West Coast there were. On the East Coast I think this was 1999, so the .com thing was fully in swing. People were getting pretty excited about the opportunities. So we raised 13. You could almost imagine what happened, which is we had a lot of signups, but not a ton of usage. We had a small group of people who used it like crazy, who were professionals, history professors, people like that, and then a lot of people who were like, yeah, all right, bookmarks, who cares?
And you missed some, and you threw some expensive holiday parties.
You missed that part. We were kind of cheap. So what did we do? We pivoted to advertising. That's how I got my start in advertising. We really blasted our users pretty hard with the pop-ups, pop-unders, emails, rewards program. We had a rewards program.
Pop-ups were the best ROI ever.
I know. Get rewards for using your bookmarks. It was really extreme.
Back to your generational comment, those 20-somethings don't have to deal with how atrocious.
So
we did. But they're lucky. Like, it's actually gotten good.
So actually, 62% of our users are under 30. So just to tell them, back then in '99, when you closed your browser, you would find no less than 70 advertisements, which were called pop-unders. Right? They were pop-ups, and you would just delete them. But then when you close your browser, they were all these pop-unders that were there.
And just in case,
crazy.
The audience didn't fully grasp that, I think in the context of you just had a house party, and you're tired. It's 3 a.m. You kick people out. You shut the door. But there's like 40 people still looming in your closets under your bed.
Yes,
that's a pop-under.
You thought they pop-undered.
It was horrible. Before the browsers had pop-up blocking, it was horrible. I mean, nowadays the web has some problems, but that was really bad.
That wasn't one of them. Okay, so you blasted them.
We blasted them. We got some revenue. It was not going anywhere. I mean, the .com bubble burst. There was no funding. We were not profitable. So we did an interesting thing. We sold the company to another crappy marketing company. I won't say who.
Everyone's now Googling it,
Yeah,
and they now know who.
Yeah, right. So we sold the company.
If you want to guess who it is, write it below.
Blink.com in 2002. So we sold it, didn't get the money back for the investors. It was okay, though. I lost my job as part of it, no biggie. But then I said to the new owners, who were like the shadiest direct response slime balls in the world.
I know who it is.
Yeah. They were like, oh, man, how can we put more pop-ups on the site, right? And I was like, well, hey, there's you got let's say 1.5 million registered users on the site. Only 50,000 of them really were very active. I was like, those 50,000 would probably pay for it. What if I buy them back from you? Because you don't even want to support bookmarks. You don't even know what bookmarks are. You just think of this as an email list you bought. And they're like, sounds like a great idea. So I personally bought back the most valuable asset, which was the dedicated users, turned it into an ad-free subscription service.
You bought it back from them?
Yes, personally.
How did you do that with no money?
I paid them $10,000.
You bought it back for $10,000?
Yeah, it's a lot back then for that.
Well, because they thought of it as a problem. They thought of it as a liability.
Oh, so they just wanted the email list.
They just wanted the email list and this website
but,
that bomb people off.
All right, I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
I love this, but aren't these sort of slimy guys at this stage, like, aren't they like, what's going on here? Why is Ari trying to – wouldn't that cause a red flag to be like, hey, Bill, should we talk about the fact that he wants to buy something we don't value?
No, he wants to buy it for $10,000, and nerds weren't yet cool.
It was sort of that. It was also sort of they didn't even know what they bought, right?
Yeah.
They were, I mean, yeah. Anyway, enough about them. So I bought back the 50,000 valuable users, offered them $4 a month to keep their bookmarks safe with no ads. A lot of them took me up on it and just hit their renewal credit cards for the next 5 years.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah. And they loved it. That small group of users, just needed that product.
Yeah.
And it was a lifestyle business. I ran it with a friend of mine who was going to law school, so it helped him pay for law school because he was also taking the dividends.
So you were getting not 50,000, but let's say 30,000 people a month paying you $4.
It was less than that, but in the end,
yeah,
it was a
something
substantial
like that.
amount of money in the first couple of years.
That is awesome. So, but that just kind of runs itself. So so what are you doing during that time?
Well, 2002 and 2003 were not good times to be.
So
internet guy.
Again, for the younger generation, that's when the .com bubble burst.
Yes, it burst bad.
And it burst bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm wandering the streets, like looking for jobs, consulting contracts, whatever. Luckily, I have my bookmarks paying my bill. And did that. I had a lot of interesting consulting jobs. Did some agency work, which everyone who knows me knows how negative I could be on agencies. But
I got a question for both of you guys. I was at Bolt.com, early social networking site. That thing blew up, and there were a lot of people, or maybe it was Music Vision. A lot of people did not come back after that because it was like, I told you so. I knew this thing
was a fad,
and they didn't come back.
Yeah.
Did you guys? And I still know who they are. Commercial real estate friend. Did you guys have people that said like that was enough and this thing's not going to come back, and maybe because of pride did not kind of launch back in, and they've had 20 years to do so?
So me personally, when I was an accountant, I was a CPA, and I told my mom I was going to an internet startup, and I think like a tear welled up in her eye, and so during the boom. Like she didn't really talk. She
didn't talk to you.
Everyone thought it was a fad, and so she still told all of her friends that I was an accountant.
Totally.
And then when it blew up, she was like, "Well, at least you can go back to accounting,
and you can come home for Thanksgiving this year."
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was like my mom was the one, but
right.
I actually fought through it and I never left. And then the people that I fought through with are some of my best friends in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the co-founders of my bookmark startup, Blink, they decided to go back into finance. So
that's what I'm talking about.
They started a hedge fund.
Yeah.
You may have heard of it. It's called 2 Sigma.
No. Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
Wow.
I by the way, now, so I was always so impressed with Ari and what he's done with his career. But now I'm like, you're dumb.
I'm dumb.
You're like
I'm so dumb.
You have a couple thousand people paying you $4 a month. Meanwhile,
wait, but hold on. This was prompted, Bill, based off the people that were scared off of the boom.
Yes,
said this was a fad.
By the way, your question was meant to be like egg on your face.
Yeah,
that blew up in your face.
Wow.
They're really nice guys.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so they were right.
Yeah.
They were right. Okay. All right. So, where did you? Then where are we in your?
I did some entrepreneurial stuff, small stuff. Like I created a website called NYWiki that was a user-generated history of New York City. That was kind of neat. Went on for a couple of years. Did a thing called Everything New York, which is also like a compendium of blogs about New York. Just kind of fun, low-tech kind of stuff, not venture-funded or anything like that. And so I was doing freelance consulting, stuff like that. And then
are these like things that you were doing at home? Or were you doing on behalf of other people? And was there a way?
It was a mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever have anyone help you with the names of these things? I'm just noticing a little bit of pattern. Or did you come up with the names?
Blink.com is a really good name.
That's not bad. It
sounds
really
like
By the way, New York.wiki is really cool.
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
NY.
I was on the Brian Lair show talking about it once.
There you
That
go.
was kind of neat. So then...
and now you're on the Superpowers Podcast, which is, so much better.
Yeah, sorry.
Watch out for the Twitter account. More followers coming.
It's Superpowers_IO, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do people know how to type an underscore?
Um,
Or is that like part of the test?
We'll talk about that offline. All right, let's stick with the show.
Okay, anywho. So then I got a call. I did get a call. I saw a job opening at a company that was a little over the hill, a little like, called DoubleClick.
Oh.
DoubleClick in 2004 was not a sexy place to work.
Yep.
Cubicle City, publicly traded
Yep.
at like $5 a share.
Yep.
Seen better days. And, I was pretty apprehensive about interviewing there. But I knew at the time I liked AdTech because I had the experience with it from previous job. And I was looking for a full-time job.
Ari, for our guests that don't know, what was DoubleClick at that time?
So DoubleClick started in the mid-'90s, was the biggest success story of the dot-com boom in New York City. At one point, its market cap was well over $1 billion. It innovated.
10 billion.
10? What?
When I worked there, it was 10 billion.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
It was AdTech. It was the originator of AdTech.
Yep.
First ad network, first ad server, and by
It was the underpin. I always looked at it as the underpinning of how ads were served.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so it had its heyday. Then the dot-com bubble burst, and according to I think the CEO at the time, Kevin Ryan, like 80% of customers went out of business in 1 year.
Yep.
So it had some really tough times in the early 2000s.
Yep.
Right. So 2004 was when I joined DoubleClick.
Yeah.
It was actually at the low point. I think you could point the turnaround of DoubleClick exactly the day I started. I'll take correlation on that one. Right. So I was brought on to fix a product called Dart Motif, which was a horrendously built, terribly run product.
How did you feel about that product?
Well, I didn't know anything about it before I started.
Oh, so what qualified you other than DoubleClick's in the toilet? Were you qualified for this job?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I went in on a Friday to interview, I went in on a Thursday morning interview. Probably interview with a lot of people like Lynn Tornabin and people like that. Mm-hmm. And they kept extending the interview. Like, no, we need you to stay another couple hours. You need to meet Doug Knopper. You need to meet all these people.
Yep.
Good sign.
So it was 8 hours of interviews, and then they called me the next day.
And
on
clearly
Friday.
early, sorry, but you were obviously playing hard to get. You're like, I got other interviews.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I got nothing.
So on Thursday, full day of interviews on Thursday, I go home. I'm like, I think that went pretty well. Friday, they call me up like, "Can you start Monday?" And I should have known something was up.
Wow.
I think I don't know if I was qualified, but I was pretty good.
Was your job technical lead, product manager?
Product manager
for Dart Motif, which was like the creative.
It was a suite of tools to allow people to create rich media ads.
Creative
ads.
Yeah.
So ads that expanded or floated over the page, or had a lot of rich interaction to it. It was actually a joint venture between DoubleClick and Macromedia, which was the company that created the Flash system before Adobe bought Macromedia.
And back to the pop under sort of example. Now these are rich media. Again, for the audience, this is just still the people that didn't leave, but they're just dressed better. They have glitter.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
No, I think it's more like they were on the page. They weren't popping out.
Yeah,
they were on the page.
No, these are. I mean, back then, they were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where like you'd have a Spider-Man,
Yep,
coming
that's true.
across the page,
The
and
Hulk bursting through the page.
So
I remember these.
So let's see if we can list them off. Clipmart, which you guys bought.
Yep.
Interpol, iBlaster, iWonder.
Yep.
Is there another one?
Point Roll.
Point Roll. Thank
Point
you.
Roll, yeah.
There's another 20, but
Yeah.
those are the ones.
But those are the
big
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
Right. So it was. So that's how I got into AdTech, and kind of the rest is history, I guess.
So how long did you stay at DoubleClick?
I stayed for a bit more than 6 years. 4 years at DoubleClick, and then DoubleClick was acquired by Google, and I spent 2 years at Google.
What was your did you enjoy your time at Google?
Well, let me say this. Like, a week into the acquisition, I was like, I'm quitting. I just cannot take this. I can't take these people and their ripped sweatshirts and their engineering attitudes. I can't take it another day.
Yeah.
And David Rosenblatt, who was the CEO of DoubleClick and who I consider a mentor, he and I took a walk, and he was like, "You're not quitting." First, second of all, the way to think about this is that what is the most important company in the world right now? Google.
Yeah.
If it takes you a year or two to get that experience and learn what
That's
makes
good advice.
it tick,
Yeah.
that's worth it.
Yeah.
And he was totally right.
But I wonder how many people Dave
great
Rosenblatt has met. Because I consider Dave one of my mentors as well. And it's because of that completely reasonable thought pattern and simplicity of like
black and white. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
No, you go to him with something complex,
Yeah.
and he narrows it down to a single sentence, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
By the way, when I merged with Donovan to form Mediation, I said I need someone to run tech, and Dave Rosenblatt was like, "Do you know Ari Paparo?" And I said, "No, I don't." And he was like, "He's the guy you need. Go after him." And I went after Ari.
Did you?
Yeah.
So
I felt like I was close to getting him.
I didn't get a job offer.
No, because you didn't want a job offer. You were like, I don't think this is for me.
Paper trails, guys. It doesn't matter without the paper trail. I'll be the judge.
I heavily recruited.
I'll be the judge. All right.
Heavily.
So you have this time there. You get extraordinary advice from David. You learn from Google. And now you get. It sounds like if I have the timeline, you got some entrepreneurial bug on you, right?
Yeah. Well, no. I made. This is where it goes a little sideways.
Good. Thank you. We like to talk sideways.
Yeah. DoubleClick at Google was a huge experience for me, and also, not just me, the whole team that turned around DoubleClick. So it went from a crappy, unfocused public company to a company that's growing 40% a year with incredibly strategic products that Google spent $3.1 billion on.
Yeah.
So that was a huge success story. And once again, not me. And I was a part of it. So I was done with Google, wanted something new. I was really interested in advertising. I still am. I kept feeling like there was a big opportunity in brand advertising. So I took a job as the head of digital for Nielsen.
Yeah. I always forget about
this.
that part of your life.
Well, I was only there for 6 months.
Yeah.
And Nielsen was private equity owned at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a hard, political, bad place.
Yeah.
It was a bad place to work.
Yeah.
Really bad.
I refer to this, Bill, as the mulligan. So as I've interviewed people over the years, you're sitting across, look at the resume, and you can kind of see that thing that had like 4 months or 6 months. I'm like, that's good. Look, Can we talk about this one?
Can we talk about the mulligan?
And we talk about this one, and I don't use it yet. And they're like, "Oh yeah," and like kind of this shameful. No. This is actually the one I want to talk about.
Yeah.
What did you learn there? Why did that happen? And I'm like, chalk it up. Everyone in life has a mulligan.
Absolutely.
I have a mulligan on my resume. You have mulligans. It's okay.
You do.
This was your mulligan. The under 6-monther is awesome to talk about.
My advice, I have very specific advice. Leave the first day.
Really?
If you go into a place and it's obvious, and if you're starting to say on your first day or first week,
what did I do?
Like, this probably isn't right for me. But maybe I have to stay a while. You don't have to stay a while.
Yeah.
If you're there less than a month, there is no foul. It doesn't even have to go on your resume.
Yeah.
Right?
That's great advice. That's actually great advice. There's some poor people.
Hold on, but
that's great advice. There's poor people that stay a year because remember that bullshit got to stay a year thing?
Yeah. Bullshit.
Woo, like shame on you. You don't have to stay a year. It's awful to make suffer.
And the shorter, the better.
That's great advice.
But what after your first day? made you say?
So the first day, here's what happened.
You get excited.
Nielsen was organized the way General Electric is organized, and it was filled with General Electric execs.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
and so the way they
Six
think,
Sigma.
Yeah, the way they think about the world is there isn't product management and engineering. There's product leadership, which is sort of an amorphous business function, and then there's this general business services, which is a big group that does everything operational inside the company. That's how all GE is organized.
Yeah.
That's how Nielsen was organized. So this general business services group ends up having an enormous amount of political power because they do everything.
Yeah.
And have the most headcount and the most budget. And effectively on the first day, there was a presentation from the head of GBS to all the product folks that was beyond hostile. It was like, product doesn't know what you're doing. We're wasting our resources. We're not going to continue building these shitty products you keep asking for because you don't know what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So there's this toxic environment.
Interesting.
And I'm a product guy, so my
It's
product versus engineering
and by the way,
being hostile is not a good situation.
And here's the deal: at Google, the product people run the show.
Well, no, engineering runs the show.
Well, no, that's why I kind of meant engineering.
But it's a good relationship for the most part, right?
Yeah.
This was a bad relationship. So that alone was enough. I should have known. And the next 6 months played out that way where, and I think still to this date, most Nielsen products, like the actual things you log into and get data from, are very poorly invested in.
Yeah.
Nielsen is the best in the world at measurement. The people who work there are great.
Yes.
If you need them to do something and measure something unusual or do a custom pull of data, they're the best in the world.
Yeah.
But if you want to log into one of their products, it's not going to be up to snuff.
By the way, do you want to know my mulligan?
Of course.
Yeah.
I very rarely talk about it, but it's so appropriate here. So I was a CPA, I was an accountant, and I figured I got to learn sales if I'm going to do anything with my career, because I was a mediocre to less than mediocre accountant, and so I was like, I got to learn sales. So I took a job as a headhunter recruiting accounting professionals. So day number one, these guys are like, you got to bang out 50 calls. So I banged out 50 calls to everyone I work with at Arthur Andersen, now Accenture. So called everyone, said, hey, I can get you a job making 20, 30 grand more than you're making today. I had these jobs I'm supposed to recruit for. I go home the first day and I'm exhausted. and I called all my friends. Mm-hmm. The second day, I had to then go find people, and I was like, this is fucking miserable.
Well, you just went on LinkedIn, right, to do that?
No LinkedIn. No LinkedIn. This is 1995. And so the third day, I go into the two owners of this business, and I said, it's not going to work out. I was like, but get me this job. It was the job I was supposed to be recruiting for, was head of financial reporting at an internet advertising startup called DoubleClick.
You're like, this is the one I want.
So I said,
yeah,
this isn't working out for me.
But I found a guy. It's me.
I found
another Bill.
Yes.
His name's Bill Weiss.
Yes.
He looks just like me.
So I placed myself at
amazing.
the job I was supposed to be recruiting for.
Quite a story.
Smart.
Yeah.
You came back after that first night. You're like, I just worked today, right?
Yeah.
It's work.
So
Banging
it's
out calls.
crazy. I so appreciate salesmanship because it's hard.
It's really hard.
It's hard. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. You're at Nielsen, you leave Nielsen.
Yeah, 6 months at Nielsen, I actually had a pretty big accomplishment there, which was I built DAR. Patent holder on that. That's their measurement
Your name
product.
is on the patent, right?
Yeah. So
that's cool.
How
many patents is your name on?
Only two. One a DoubleClick and one. And that
I'm only 0.
Can you make money off of patents?
No, they're assigned to the company. You don't own anything.
No, but
so my respect level already has been skyrocketing, and now it's sort of curbed a little bit.
It's
back
that's
to
just the way it is if you work for someone.
No, it's kind of like EY Entrepreneur of the Year, or Business Insider.
I'm trying to keep him tame. We don't want to blow him up, Bill. We don't want to blow him up too quick. All right.
I kind of feel like if you have like a list of stuff, like a bucket list,
I know.
Having your name on a patent is pretty cool.
It is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right. How many patents are your name on?
So what do you do after that?
So So back after Nielsen, I was approached by friends of mine who worked at AppNexus. AppNexus, I think it was Michael Rubenstein who reached out. He and I had worked closely together at DoubleClick. He was the president of AppNexus, and we talked. I talked with Brian O'Kelly, the CEO, and they had never had a head of product management, and they needed one pretty badly.
Dangerous.
I know, very dangerous.
So for I'm sure most of our users know, but Brian O'Kelly, the technical founder of Right Media, then the founder of AppNexus. It's always hard when your founder is a product and technical leader to then become the product or technical leader.
Yes, absolutely. So a lot of people come to me for advice about product management, job careers, and one of the pieces of advice I give them is if you're the first VP of product for, let's say, a Series A funded company, and you ask the CEO, why you're hiring for this position, if they say, because I don't have time to do it anymore, run. That is
Disaster.
not a good answer.
By the way, non sequitur, when do you meet your wife and how do you meet your wife?
Well, okay, so that is a non sequitur. So I met my wife in 98.
All right.
We met at our high school reunion.
Whoa!
So we both went to the same high school in the same class and didn't know each other.
Did not
know each other.
Was she one of the cool kids and you were the nerds?
She claims that.
Yeah.
But if you saw her high school picture, you would doubt her word on that.
But in 98...
I mean, she was cooler than me.
Yeah.
Me in high school, not something.
So how many kids were in this class?
750.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a
This
real.
is sty. This is
That's a real number.
Yeah.
To not know everybody.
So we met at the high school reunion.
So you met at your 10-year high school reunion?
Yeah.
And what's the pickup line?
So you went to high school here? I don't know you.
So literally you just struck up a conversation because you didn't know her. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then you pulled her in.
That's more or less how it worked. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. It was
nice.
Or maybe she pulled him in. We don't know the full.
I don't know.
Right.
I feel like he was at this point he's kind of like. He's not a sales guy, but he's done sales.
Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, it was a real crossing Delancey kind of moment because I was Upper East and she was Lower East, and she pulled me down. So I've lived down the Lower East Side below Delancey Street now ever since we moved in together.
So, go to your reunions.
Yes.
If you're lonely and trying to figure it out, go to your reunions. You never know. Ari
you
did
never
it.
do know.
I'm planning my 30-year now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Ari, let's talk about what you're Can you talk to us about what you're currently doing?
And
Sure.
why you started it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had been in ad tech for a long time, various positions. I always was talking to sort of the cutting edge users of ad tech because of the positions I was in, and I kept hearing kind of the same thing over and over again, which is it's great what your platform does, it's great, but I kind of want to own my own tech. And it was a very consistent point of view from entrepreneurs, from big companies that were big enough where they thought their engineering team could build their own tech, or as well as from sophisticated advertisers who would say, well, I'm spending $10 million a day on advertising. I want to control it. I don't want to just get handed over. Mm-hmm. And none of the platforms out there, I felt, could really meet that need. And so I said to myself, well, let's put on my product hat here. What could I build that would solve this problem? Because building your own tech was super expensive and risky. And, if you're a big Fortune 500 company, are you really going to know enough about ad tech to build a platform that works for you?
Yeah.
There's all these nuances. It's really complicated. So I developed a product that did that. We call it the Bidder as a Service. And the idea is it's a full ad tech stack that is in the cloud. Yeah, BaaS. Or sometimes some people call it base. I don't know.
All right.
So we founded the company Beeswax. It was me and two guys one guy who worked for me at Google and an engineering manager from Google.
Yep.
And we were all really clear on the vision. It's a cloud-based full ad tech stack.
But Ari, for our listeners, one, what is Bidder as a Service?
Yep.
And then please tell us where you were with your co-founders for the name Beeswax. I think I asked you this over lunch a year ago, but I think it's if I remember, there's a story there.
Yeah, sure. So what is a bidder? Well, advertising is not bought over steaks and martinis anymore. Advertising is bought by servers.
Shame. Such a shame.
There still are steaks and martinis.
Yeah.
But advertising is bought by servers interacting. On the sell side, publishers are using very sophisticated systems to sell the ads, and on the buy side, agencies and advertisers use bidders, or DSPs they're sometimes called, to buy the ads using algorithms. So that's what my product does. It's a buy-side solution for buying ads where, unlike sort of a typical DSP, it's very customizable. We have customers who write their own algorithms in their own coding languages. We have all kinds of interactions and connections with different systems. It's kind of a high-end product. It's not for some small business who advertise on Google. It's for Fortune 500 companies.
So you create efficiency, probably incremental net new revenue, and you relieve potentially the pain point of having to develop and build something that otherwise you may not have to build.
Yeah, versus building yourself, it's wildly more efficient.
Yeah.
Versus a packaged software, you could get more out of it. You could really
Fortune 500 brand has so much between D2C, where consumers are. They have the last thing they should be thinking about is building ad tech.
It's the last thing they should be thinking about. And there's also a history of companies that have failed at it, who've tried and failed. So that really is a good conversation.
But even like companies like Procter & Gamble have tried to do stuff in-house. It kind of doesn't, even at their level, it almost doesn't make sense.
It's not their core competency.
Exactly.
Sorry, the name.
The name, Beeswax. So I was trying to come up with a name, and I was starting an ad tech company late. There were already 90 other ad tech companies that did similar things.
By the way, one would argue dumb to start an ad tech company when there's already 250.
I accept this.
Yes.
It was dumb.
Yeah.
So I needed a name that stood out. I could not be Ad Potato or Blue Banana or one of these stupid ad tech names that you see all the time. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm going to treat this like it's a consumer startup.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about insect metaphors and bees and ants. When you think of bees and ants, you think about they work really hard, and our customers think of themselves that way. And so we started looking at beehive and hive and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We ended up being able to buy the domain beeswax.io, and that's our corporate name.
Yeah, not _io, but .io.
And then I found that beeswax.com was for sale, and I started, and we hadn't launched yet, so no one knew what I was up to. So I played the stupid buyer thing. I was like, hey, I'm interested in beeswax.com.
Did you send it from a fake Hotmail account?
No, my personal email, so they could have found out that I was an ad tech. I just lied about stuff. I was
it doesn't matter.
I'm a fashion.
So how much was the domain for sale for? $100,000. All right, we're gonna guess.
Yeah,
we're gonna guess. I'm gonna say you bought it for $24,000.
What's your guess?
So it was on sale for $100.
Yeah.
You bought it for $16,500.
27.
Pretty good guess.
By the way, I wanted to go second because I thought it was going to be Price is Right's rule, and that'd be like $1.
Yeah. No, it's good.
All right.
Yeah.
By the way, that's a great to own beeswax.com
It is.
26.
Yeah.
We're higher in Google than Burt's Bees.
Wow.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
And it's been so valuable to us. People remember the name. People.
So you recruit this woman from high school to become your wife. 10 years later, you have all these you have a job.
See
at
how
the
we
most,
did that with the recruit? Yeah.
You have the most powerful. You have a job at the most powerful company potentially ever in the history of companies, and you're like, not for me. I'm going to leave after 2 years. You're working at a multi-billion-dollar private Nielsen, but then one day you're going to come back to this, wife of yours that you knew and didn't know in high school and be like, guess what? I'm starting a company and I'm going to make no money.
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd that go?
I think she's kind of used to it at this point. We've done pretty well, so it's not a poverty situation.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, it does become difficult when you have very inconsistent earnings. Like if you looked at my tax returns the last 10 years, there's no pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
I had one or two amazing years and then nothing in 1 year. It's really gets a little nerve wracking.
Yeah.
And for the first 2 years of Beeswax, I didn't pay myself anything.
You didn't.
Well, it's nerve-wracking, but it's okay.
But you raised money right out of the gate.
We did. I raised $1.3 million seed round.
Yep.
From pretty much everyone in the world except for Chris.
It's a sore point. It's sore. It hurts. If I tell you, Bill,
Unbelievable.
I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
It was really everyone.
The one that got away.
Just like throw a rock in Manhattan and hit an angel investor.
I'm out, guys. Enjoy the rest of the. Bill, I'm not joking. This is
listen, we can spend the rest of the podcast on how Chris passed up this amazing opportunity, but
it wasn't ever given to me.
But actually, you raise $1.3 million, but then proceed not to pay yourself for 2 years. That's noble.
So it was $1.3 million on a PowerPoint. We had nothing. We didn't have a line of code. Actually, it's not true. We had some code, but like we were pre-launch, just an idea.
Yep.
I mean, it was definitely a decision to make. We could have the three founders could afford it for a little while, and it was just going to increase our burn enormously to have three high-paid employees.
Yeah.
So
what year was that?
It was 5 years ago, so 2014.
So without talking about what you did in the last 5 years, give us the metrics on number of employees. Have you raised money since then?
Great.
So from 2014 to 19, we've raised $28 million total. We just did a B round in January. We have 91 employees currently.
Awesome.
We have about, let's call it 30 in revenue, $30 million a year.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. It's one. If you think of it not as ad tech.
Man. I mean, had I been presented that opportunity for an angel investment,
Ari, my plan is, because I literally, every time I see him, like he blows me off when I'm like, can we get coffee? Like he won't see me because I do it so much that I feel like eventually I'm going to get him to crack and he's going to just get me into the cap table on day one. I just feel like it's coming. I just got to keep working it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the hugging.
Jokes aside, Ari, it's such an impressive story and such a great idea of a product at the right time. I actually don't consider it ad tech. And the reason I don't consider it ad tech, in my own sort of delusional way of dividing these things up, ad tech are those that depend on agencies and brands to make their money. And I think there's only 5 companies there that really matter. This is more of a SaaS where you can sell to a whole host.
It's a software company.
Yeah.
So, when you're recruiting for Google, DoubleClick, how is your recruiting and how has your leadership changed over the last 5 years?
Well, I would say as a CEO, it's a big part of your job.
Yeah.
It's just enormous part of your job. And, a lot of times people say the product manager is the CEO of the product. Well, as product manager, I don't remember this much like worrying about receivables. I don't remember worrying about the office space.
Office space, cash flow, hiring, brand, image.
Yeah. But recruiting in particular, really important. Mm-hmm. I have 2 big advantages, which are my 2 co-founders. So the 2 guys I founded with, Shamim and Ram. Shamim is just an excellent hirer. I actually trust him more than myself. So I'm like good cop. I like everybody. Yeah. And then he meets people. It's like, no, absolutely not.
So what are the 3 of you? What are your roles?
So I'm CEO. Shamim is Chief Product Officer, and Ram is Chief Technical Officer.
Got it.
So Ram is also an extraordinary CTO. He built most of Gmail, so he's able to recruit just on reputation.
But this is just, I think not only an extraordinary team, but I think the advantages of having multiple co-founders in this capacity. I don't know about you, Bill, but I definitely shy away, tend to, if it's a one founder-led thing, because I think the importance of having...
Oh, you stay away from investing in...
Yeah, investing, sorry. Yeah, from investment perspective. But I think in this capacity, having 3, you guys have had, this is probably important for audience as well, you've had some legacy, you've worked together before. You know each other.
Yes.
There's a trust component.
And we're all experts in the field.
Yeah.
So there's not every startup is like this. There are startups where it's great to have, a 23-year-old visionary co-founder, right? That's not what this was. This was 3 people who knew the business really well and can navigate exactly
and not only that, there are like 250 ad tech companies on the Lumascape. You needed to solve something specific and much better. Not like a little bit better, much better.
That's right.
But so I'm going to project here. You have 3 highly technical co-founders. Do you think everyone on the client, does everyone I just feel like your company is probably so product oriented. Do people on the customer side and the sales side not be able to live up? And do because what I feel is so many people in product are like, oh God, our product's the best, but sales sucks, and the customer people facing suck. How have you navigated that?
No,
because it's your job as a CEO.
Yeah, I think we have a really good balanced culture. Our salespeople are, I would say, very detail-oriented and technical. They can't just sling the product and hope
Got
for the
it.
best because it's enterprise software.
Yeah.
We've hired well. The support team is really strong also.
Yep.
So I think we're in pretty we have a pretty good go-to-market. Let's just say that.
Yep.
The challenge for us is finding the right customers, because you could have two customers that are direct competitors. Let's call them McDonald's and Burger King, although those aren't real examples. And you go into McDonald's and pitch them on what we're doing, and they're like, absolutely, this is strategic. We want our IT department on this. And then you go to Burger King and they look at you like, you're
180.
crazy. Why would we do this? This
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Right.
And from the outside, they looked exactly
So there's
the
no
same.
pattern recognition as it relates to sourcing deal flow.
We're having a hard time with that.
Right.
Like, when we find the right customer, they love us, and we're their solution
But
for
once
them.
you have them hooked, I mean, they're hooked
Yeah.
probably for life. There's
If
no
it works,
switching
they're
cost
gonna be
here.
hooked,
Yeah.
So so I have another question. Like, so, name of the podcast, Superpowers. If you had to decide what your superpower is, what do you think it is?
Well, it's funny. It's writing. I'm a really good, fast writer.
Wow.
And I think it's because I went to a liberal arts college.
Interesting.
And I can both promotional writing for the company. So, I mean, a lot of the marketing we've done has been byline articles and things I've written, et cetera. But also internal. We are a very written culture inside our company, sort of a little bit like what Amazon, some of the techniques Amazon has, where if we need to make a decision, you write a memo about it and you circulate it and get feedback on it, and you don't waste people's time in an hour-long meeting arguing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You basically narrow down the scope of the decision quite a bit before you waste everyone's
I'd imagine
time.
you've saved a lot of time, energy, and probably working with external service providers as a result of the
Yeah.
skill that you have.
Yeah,
And you enjoy, like, what's the right question? Is it words per minute? Like, what are you, can we like see how fast you type? Is there like
want me to
does like smoke come out
bang
of
out?
the,
No, it's not typing. It's writing.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I could write very quickly. And so, for example, we did annual strategic planning last year, and instead we're going to go and do a big rah-rah presentation in front of the company. Here's what we're doing. But I decided over the Christmas break, I just wrote like a 5-page memo explaining the company, similar to like the CEO letters that Bezos writes and stuff like that. Not to compare myself, but it's the same
Hey,
style.
you said it.
And
It's out there now.
and it's super effective. And
Yeah.
not only is it effective in communicating precisely what you're saying, as opposed to a presentation, which is subjective, depends on like how much energy you have that day. But also, we gave that letter to all the employees we hired this year. Part of the onboarding. Here, read the CEO letter. You know what we're doing this year.
So that's actually pretty incredible, because it's very difficult to figure out, particularly when you're kind of like a product-led founder, to figure out what your leadership style is. But really what employees want is to feel like they're working for a winner with a good mission, and they want to be communicated to, right? And so a lot of people think that's like, I got to get in front of them, I got to do this, I got to do all hands. But actually, if you just write something thoughtful and send it out, that's fascinating.
And also, it accounts for different people's communication styles.
Yeah.
The thing about I mean, meetings are important, and all hands are important, but they kind of the personal interactions and the emotions are probably at least half of what is transmitted between people.
Yeah.
And that's not always what you want. You might want precise explanation of things, descriptions of things, actual facts.
Well, to piggyback on to Bill's point, which I think is a good one, I think as a result of this superpower, you're also constantly creating a level of transparency, and your employees know where you stand.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is often you walk in, it's like, shit, like, am I a good spot? Are we in a good spot? Or how do they? So, whether that was the intent or not, it seems like you've done that for your employee base, which is huge from a cultural perspective.
Well, I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Let's say that. I mean, there's always keeping 100 people aligned is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it changes, and people hear something and they misinterpret it, and then suddenly you're off target. So you have to keep doing it.
The other thing I would say, having following you on most social media, is I feel like Ari's really witty. And like you'll put stuff about like, hey, here's an interaction I had with my son, and I got to be honest with you, like I think employees respect that, right? Because it's like hey, we think about like Ari, he's done all this stuff, but like you're human, like you're seemingly approachable. I don't know if you are approachable, but like you're seemingly approachable. You're witty. You communicate often. Like that's actually a huge superpower.
I was gonna. you already kind of did the summary. That what I've been thinking about summarizing outside of your writing capability, which is always fun to do these shows, even with friends, is a level of authenticity and realness. Like you're very,
Yes.
I did not know that about you. That sort of level of whether intentional or not. You're very black and white. It's very direct. This is exactly where I stand. And obviously, there's a lot more given your background, but I think that's a huge component of your superpower is the authenticity piece of I'm Ari, take it or leave it. May not be popular, but this is where I stand.
I definitely have made a couple enemies around my time in the industry.
Well, the host of Superpowers Podcast show, we're good with you.
All right, good. That's really.
You're gonna tweet this out to your 22K once we're ready to go?
Yes.
That's on record. Will you tweet it out just like the Pop Unders daily for a month? Yes or no, Ari?
No, I will not do that. I might do hashtag influencer. Try to pump up the numbers a little bit for you guys.
All right. Well, listen, this was incredibly fun.
Always incredibly fun, and we're going to have a little boozy brunch as we do every year in a couple of weeks. That'll be fun as well. So here we go. Co-founder and CEO of Beeswax, company that's trailblazing. His wife thought he was a loser in high school. He found her 10 years later. Did the liberal arts thing. He went from find SVP to now tech leader, someone on Twitter that everyone needs to follow. And it's his witty banter and his transparent way in which he communicates that's his superpower. Ari, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Superpowers.